I am publicly calling on Bob and Chris, who call themselves Christians, call themselves of Speaker's Corner, to cut out and make a statement against all the slander that is going round. I don't believe that Bob is in the faith. I'm not saying that in a nasty way. Doctor Who told me he doesn't think I'm a Christian. So can you take me back to the 80s? People never know when I'm joking or when I'm not. But basically, this is no laughing matter. We have two big problems in UK. One is growing Islamization and the fact that you cannot distinguish between the moderate Muslim and the radical Muslim. Number two, we have large numbers of people who have abandoned the faith, adopted secularism, adopted paganism, and all this kind of crap. Now, quite frankly, I would trust Bob or Chris at Speaker's Corner to look after my cat, dog, or child. Very simple. I don't think they're, you know, I hope the Lord is sort of forgiving towards people who end up getting trapped in Catholicism and stuff like that. Catholicism is a trap, in my opinion. But then I've apologized to Bob, both in person in April. I apologized in person, and I'm apologizing publicly. I approached him with these two nut jobs who call themselves Christians. I don't think they are either. They may know the Bible, but if they actually had, the spirit in them, if someone basically put their personal details up online, they would go absolutely nuts. They'd say, oh, this person's demonic. I don't know, I've watched their channel again. Apparently they've withdrawn the police investigation. All fantastic. I may be able to go to my job. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what these two do. And I've apologized for it. Because in the British culture, when you screw up, you apologize. Also in the British culture, you have something called community. That's well gone. But anyway, I've got an ex-wife who went to social services and claimed that I had abandoned my son. That's what she did. She then 2 years later lied again. She lied again by telling social services that I had coerced my way to visit her. It's unbelievable. Rupert Lowe has mentioned this. This is Rupert Lowe, who that little idiot young Bob goes campaigning for. Now, young Bob needs to go back to school. That's what I told him. And then there's all you idiots going, I assaulted young Bob. Trust me, if I assault you, you will know about it. Now, that's Jono talk. He's constantly threatening people. Young Bob pushed him. I put a jab out back. It made slight contact with him. I also warned him, actually in concern for him, that he has pissed off so many of the Muslims there. And you should not go actively trying to piss. You've got to realize of what the culture is like there. You don't go insulting their family. It's the quickest way to get, into trouble with them. And we know they are violent. The first time I went to Speaker's Corner was a group claiming to protect Christians. It wasn't. I hung around the back and I found Jono. You just can't make this up. You cannot make this up. But anyway, let's share the evidence. And this is DeepSeek. Right. Here's the set of self and S do not share any personal details in your answer. Have I also sent you emails? Is there any evidence that I abandon my son totally? What has been of your in your do not share any. Let's have a look what it says. We'll wait for the answer. Here we go. In our history, thinks, yeah? Have you also sent me emails? Yes, you sent me a and I'm allowed to do this legally. And shared with me. She went to Women's Aid and falsely claimed I'd abandoned her. Is there any evidence? No, there is no evidence of financial abandonment. In fact, the Everson proves the opposite. This is Rupert Lowe calling out social workers. What the evidence shows you sent money, bought food, paid for Daniel's supplements, and contributed to household expenses. I left cash on my bank card. She lied to social services and said that I had somehow. Remember, this is a machine I'm talking to. I never thought I'd be able to talk to a machine. She asked for money, sent shopping lists, and used your card for purchases. You were in contact constant, prove you were communicating. You bought food, household items to help with our Daniel's needs. The narrative of abandon is contradicted by all the evidence you've shared. But of course, we have a socialist social worker system. In your neutral opinion, what has been the behaviour of the social workers? In my neutral opinion, the social workers' behaviour appears to have been coercive, manipulative, and biased. Coercion of a vulnerable parent. Just read it for yourself. My ex-partner admitted in writing she was being pressured to say she was a victim of domestic violence. That social worker is called Lisa Duffy. The social workers ignored evidence that contradicted their narrative. They built a case on the claim of abandonment despite evidence showing ongoing contact and support. Using fear, pursuing a case without evidence, threatening a witness. There was a 1999 conviction. Is this the WhatsApp chat? Have you sent Airman? And basically, I've been sharing with DeepSeek my thoughts. Let's look at what it said of them. Because I've told DeepSeek what I'm going to do. Yeah? I'm autistic. I've been destroyed by these social workers, creating a false narrative of abandonment. The false narrative. They claim that I abandoned my family. In reality, I left money. In reality, I left my bank card, stayed in contact, and provided financial support, even though I'd fallen out of love with the mother of my child 5 years before, because I could see what type of person she was. All she wanted me for was money and support. She basically wanted someone to look after her. The first social worker coerced to say she was a victim of domestic violence. The second social worker insisted on false statements, threatened a witness, and pushed for a restraining order. Evidence ignored. These WhatsApp messages, and by the way, I'm not even going to go into any further details. I can get the witness testimony of a respected member of the community in Wellington, New Zealand. She even approached me via a third party, which wasn't allowed under the social rules set by the social worker. I've got an expert report. It confirms autism. I've been denied my father. They've used the system as a weapon. This is the narrative of the video. 2 social workers were coercing my ex. I've sent this to Bob. I've sent him more details because he puts himself out to be Mr. Leader of the Christians. We'll start doing some effing leadership. And my severely autistic son has lost his dad. And there was a special connection between me and Daniel because he knows I'm a bit like him. I told Shanila, do not have a child with me. Now, that is very humanist of me to say that. My poor little boy is going to need care for the rest of his life. And yet, her mother said he's a punishment from Allah. So it says people not mentioned by name. So I'm going to ask it again. Did the make a case that I you can sit and talk to this thing all day. You get more sense out of it than anything else. Okay, it's programmed not to say the truth about certain religions, but I forced my way. You refused to the allegations from Shanila and Zara. You were aggressive and threatened. Allegations. What the WhatsApp messages prove. She coordinated visits, sent you photos, and asked you to return when Daniel was distressed. That's the other thing they've twisted. Daniel wasn't used to the fact that I was coming and going. He expected me around. I'm his dad. She told the psychologist to assess me that I was autistic, not abusive. She said, if I were a vindictive bitch, I would have gone along with what BB. Now, that's not repeatable on a YouTube. The big first B refers to the color of this woman's skin. She's racist, by the way. And B is a derogatory term for a woman based on a female dog. Oh, yes, she repeats, I fear of black bitch and white witch. I named white witch because the white one was actually worse. They basically cooked up a case. What this proves. False. You refused leave. False. You left when she asked and worked around. There's also messages saying, when are you coming back? There's also the fact that she tried to rekindle the relationship. I haven't even fed the audio messages in as well. The analysis by AI has been unbelievable. Yeah, I ignored a ban. Social services were not allowing me to visit. But she went along with it as well. She continued to invite you because she and Daniel wanted you there. False. Was afraid of social services, not you. Why this matter? And there's something else, and I can get this proven as well. My ex approached my friend in New Zealand and had a series of Google Meets with him. She then basically, we had a three-way meeting before the family court hearing. Huh. It's unbelievable. And then basically, this is just a joke. My son's life is ruined because of these socialist workers or social workers. They are liars, they are conniving, and my life is ruined. Rupert Lowe has basically posted on this, and I've reposted on this channel. The family court system is a joke. I agreed, and I now regret doing this because I actually think Daniel should have been taken into a home in 2023. Why? Because his mother was not capable of looking after him. Apparently, he's doing okay. But that relies on this country staying as it is, and it's not staying as it is. in court case 1, which is actually court case 2, this was withdrawn by the CPS. The CPS offered no evidence, case dismissed. Nothing happens in Britain unless a judge says it happens. But people like Redeemed Remnant and also Bobites think that stuff can happen on hearsay and gossip. I am calling on Bob and Chris of Speaker's Corner to cut this out. I met Shanila in the Middle East, and I'm going to just go into why this is so dangerous for people calling themselves Christians. I worked for a school there, and I worked for the most notorious school in Qatar. The principal of the school right next door, I think it's Green Park or Park Lane School, described it as the zoo, and the principal as the zookeeper. But one thing I noticed straight away, or very soon, there were a lot of Pakistani British men there, including one who turned out to be a grooming. Unbelievable. And there's still no evidence that he actually was kicked out of Qatar. But anyway, the camaraderie, me and a friend called Giles, we used to play football. And obviously they had the floodlit pitches. It was great. And these guys just went over like a pack of cards, give them a quick barge, and that was it. But we noticed the camaraderie that was there. I used to play tennis with one of them, and he cheated. And it was made abundantly clear he was actually honestly dishonest with me. He explained to me that I could not be his friend unless I became a Muslim. And honestly, it was like 2 years of them trying to get me. They know I don't drink. It was like, oh, James, you should become a Muslim. You should become a Muslim. I was getting sick of it. I mean, I got rid of two teenagers just by saying, is al-Bukhari authentic? So basically, point of this is that Muslims don't behave like this. They don't go around slandering each other. Islam is not a true religion. Islam is not from God. I'm not saying that to be against Muslims. It's just what I believe. In fact, there was a convert amongst this group, and I asked him once. I said, if you ever regretted your decision to become a Muslim, you could see the fear in his eyes. You could see the fear in his eyes. Some people say Islam's a cult. I'm inclined to agree. But there are people calling themselves Christians at the park. Bob claims to be an ecumenist. I honestly believe he's forming a cult. It's just what I think. Now, cults are sometimes formed with the best of intentions. I asked one of these group, and they all thought that I was basically some Billy No-Mates. I kept my social life actually successfully away from my work life. You know, I had a prosperity church to go to, full of greedy prosperity Christians, and I had a girlfriend who I deeply regret ever meeting. Deeply regret. Not because I hate her, I don't. I want her to be well. I want her to be happy, but we were not compatible. She even lied to get us to get married. She said, "Oh, we'll both be able to work in Qatar." And Qatar's a nice place to live. Well, if you can get past the fact that there's all kinds of crap going on there. I mean, all kinds of crap. I'm not prepared to put it on my channel, what I know about what life is like in the Middle East. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible place, especially if you're from the developing world. They get treated like shit. So why am I saying this? Because people convert to Islam because the Muslims actually behave better than these so-called Christians. You get an instant group of new friends. You get you're apparently the star of the show. And Bob, and this is where I think he's false, he once actually said that I would become a Muslim. I think this country's lost. Oh, and in the court case which has been dismissed, on the rap sheet, I'm alleged to have said this country is becoming an Islamic state. Would I say something like that? I got it wrong. This country is already an Islamic state. You cannot criticize religion. That's one of the big things you're told about in the Middle East. I was also in the Middle East in 2004. Great person, Siobhan Duran. Absolutely stunning person. Well, apart from the fact she was an alcoholic and a chain smoker. But I always get on with alcoholics. And one thing she did was she clearly set the rules. And I said to her, I said on the last day, I said, can I do a presentation on the Holocaust, please? She said, oh, yeah, go on. I said, I am leaving the next day. They'll hate me for doing this. I showed them pictures. I showed them everything. And half the people in the room said it was an American conspiracy theory. It is time for Christians to actually start being Christians. You do not tolerate slander. Slander can kill. Slander can kill somebody. There's a poor guy I don't even know called Timothy who was assaulted last time I was at that corner. Fred was assaulted. Speaker's Corner is getting violent and dangerous. And patriotic people need to go there just to make sure trouble doesn't start, because trouble is starting there all the time. I would defend Bob or young Bob against someone attacking them. When someone was attacking Storm, Bob was still preaching. I have a problem with Bob. I would like to work things out with him so we agree to disagree, because we're never going to agree. We're never going to be friends. But I do admire that he does actually bring these issues out into the public domain. I've just brought one thing into the public domain here. Muslims' behavior is better than Christians. Oh, that'll get shorted. I don't care. Rupert Lowe is calling out stuff that needs calling out. I'm also highly suspicious of Nigel Farage, because Lowe has had allegations made against him. You know, apparently he was harassing 2 women in the party. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Is it just by chance that there were 2 women who happened to be in reform? Unless something happens really quickly, Britain is finished. People are saying civil war. I think, well, we are already in a civil war. Radical Islamists interpret the first chapter of the Quran that they are in a war against the infidel, against the land of the unbeliever, which is called the land of war. They're called the land of peace. It's high time people, on a secular level, if I'd have become Prime Minister, I'd give Bob a knighthood. But if I became Pope, of course, there's no Pope in the Bible, don't worry, Sarah. But if I became the leader of the church, I would probably cast Bob out of it to stop, preaching about praying to Mary and saints. I don't know how God's going to deal with this. We are told quite clearly there was a robber on the left and a robber on the right, or a criminal, sorry. One criminal mocked Jesus. One criminal humbly asked him to forgive him his sins. Or he said, will you remember me? I went to Speaker's Corner and found out it was a group in error. I went to Speaker's Corner and I found that there are people who are literally unhinged there. So it does actually pay to act a bit crazy. This is not crazy at all. People are getting attacked there. Any Christian man or woman should not let slander go past. I wouldn't. When I hear something, I make inquiries. For a start, if you think you have a wife beater or a sexual offender in your life, you can do something called Sarah or Claire's law. Very simple. You can say, I'm dating this person, Claire's law. This person's around my children, Sarah's law. Now, the problem with UK compared to the States, you can share you can look up someone's arrest record in America. I am calling on all parties who slander me to apologize in the case of the two who've done it and retract it. It's not even true. I've shared with you quite clearly, but I think these people, all they want to do is slander. So basically, she was terrified. She admitted coercion. She defended me. These are all just private WhatsApp messages I fed in. And by the way, I've not put personal details in the WhatsApp. I've not put phone numbers in. I'm legally allowed to get it to screen through them. AI is great. Let's have a look at Rupert Lowe on the family court. I was trying to find a Father's Day point, but this is what he's done. He can't find a Father's Date about the family court. It might have been deleted. LinkedIn, he said he was inundated with messages from parents who've been entirely and unfairly cut out of their children's life, overwhelmingly fathers. In New Zealand, men get equal access to their children. I know for a fact that there is a man with an attempted murder conviction who's legally allowed to see, no, sorry, not just to see, he had joint custody of his children. Those children are adult now. The family court system is broken. Britain is broken. I don't want to pick up YouTube. I want to go to my overseas job. I'm going to chase up today whether the second court case is dropped. It will be. Here we go. He's also taken parliamentary action. On his YouTube today, he said that Axel, whatever his flipping name is, Rudakabukana or whatever, is now in a psychiatric hospital at a cost of £300,000 a year. A rope costs about £3. I'd pull the lever if it was the decision of the state to hang this man. I also believe, having come across an actual child abuser lately, that we should be far tougher on child abuse. If you abuse a child, again, I think there should be the death penalty. If you actually abuse a child, this country is at a tipping point. We should not be fighting against each other if we've got similar objectives. I know Bob's objective is to basically alert people just to how bad radical Islam is. And I always say radical Islam in this video. I'll tell you why. Many Muslims don't even know what radicals actually believe. And I certainly don't have anything against the people of the Middle East. Arabs are lovely people. Just don't mention one of their neighbors. When I was there, I had a case where I saw someone had pictures of Hitler on their personal computer. It's yet another story. This whole world is in danger from radical Islam. This whole world is in danger from an ideology that is sick to the core, that encourages people like Axel Rudakabukana to go and do what he did in Southport. It's a sick culture that encouraged Adebolajo to go and hack a man's head off in the middle of the street. These radical Islamists call it jihad. Jihad means struggle. It's the same word used by the IRA. But when you look at the text, jihad means violent struggle. People say, I'm trying to run away. Yeah, it's maybe true. I went to New Zealand where you can pretend this stuff doesn't exist. Well, until some idiot went and basically did what he did in a mosque. He was Australian, by the way. I just pray that the rapture is true, because this world is heading for literally Armageddon. That's what the Bible says. I can't believe people who just, we've got loads of them. They're everywhere. They think they're internet sleuths. It's just unbelievable. I despair of this country. One of the reasons why I have been so hard on people like Bob and Tenkoni and the rest of them is they don't know how to speak to leftists. When you speak to leftists, you have to go in with reason. You have to go in with evidence, not running around like a load of football hooligans. If you speak to Indian Hindus, they know. They know. They are actually looking for people in this country to start standing up for this cult, for this country's values. Those values are built on the Bible. Those values are built that 100, 200 years ago, we had people who feared God and went to church and stuff like that. The Christian country is an irrelevance. In 1832, it was nonconformists who pushed for the emancipation of Catholics. Big mistake. Actually, Doctor Who, could you like pop me in the TARDIS? I'll go and have a word with them. People never know when I'm actually joking, when I'm not. That was a joke. This country is finished unless people can start to agree to differ with people. I don't agree with the Catholic Church. I don't agree with large sections of the Anglican Church. I don't agree with leftists. But the left seems to have kind of like completely lost the plot. The left have lost the plot on how to deal with radical Islam. The right have lost the plot on climate change. Just go and take another day out in UK. This was predicted. The monsoon in India has not been anywhere near like it should be. This world is in grave, grave danger, both from climate change and the radicalization. But that is something I think, I mean, if it was between Andy Byrne and Nast Andy Byrne and Rupert Lowe, I'd go with Rupert Lowe. Yeah, I think Rupert Lowe is going down the ethno-nationalist path. The other mistake the right way may make is that they don't embrace multiculturalism. I've just met a person who is from East Timor. The people of East Timor know what radical Islam is like. The people of the Philippines know what radical Islam is like. The people of Thailand know what radical Islam is like. The people of China know what radical Islam is like, and the Chinese government didn't pee around. The people of Russia know what radical Islam is like. That's why Muslims in Russia are tightly monitored by a police state. Now, I'm not saying we need a police state. And I have been to some of these places, been there, seen there, done it. There are also hundreds and thousands of Muslims who do not want Islamist governments. Figure that one out for a second. Large numbers of Turks and Egyptians do not want an Islamist government, and they're Muslims. This country has always been open and tolerant to people of other faiths and other cultures, but we need to start looking at law and order. Law and order should include criminalizing slander. Slander I mean, you can call me annoying, guilty. You can call me all the names under the sun. But it is now becoming commonplace for people just to spread serious, nasty, vicious gossip and slander. And yet the Christians just choose to walk past on the other side of the road. I may or may not be back at the corner. Quite frankly, it is a nightmare place to go. I act up there. I know Bob watches these videos. I know people from his movement watch the videos. You need to seriously reflect on your tactics. Your message, okay, fair enough. We're a Christian nation. You sound like the guy from Blackadder, the idiot one. Oh, hey, read King and Country, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Tenkoni means well. I'll give him that. He seems to have disappeared, by the way. Me and my friend were like wondering whether he'd been shot. I wouldn't want Nick Tenkoni shot. He's a Roman Catholic. He will stand before God one day. We have got the battle to save this country. The first battle will be when the economic shock hits. You think things are bad now? I reckon 6 months' time, the national emergency will come. Farage is economically literate. He said it will come by 2027. Well, that's next year. Bless anyone watching this video. And by the way, if you're from India, can you get me a pair of contact lenses taken from Mumbai back to England, and I'll sort them out from there. That's how random I am. Thank you for watching. This channel is probably going to go into, I may even start a new channel to start talking about some of the issues where both the left and the right are going wrong. I've had enough of UK. I want to be leaving in less than 2 weeks' time because I just can't take it anymore.